computer. Uh-oh. Oh, wait. Okay. So, welcome to week 4 of CodeZeroAlgos, which is mock interviews. So, Stuart decided to be our first guinea pig, so to speak, but that's okay. Gotta start with somebody.
I'm the guinea pig. Yay.
So, Stuart is applying for the quote-unquote position of full-time back-end developer. I should probably share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. The job description was seeking full-time back-end developer to dive into back-end technologies with a focus of JavaScript and Python, contribute to the core functionality of applications, and a key player in our tech team. So the responsibilities listed were work on backend technologies, focus on JavaScript and Python. Already said that, never mind. So the perks are $35 an hour compensation and remote work flexibility, which I think was everything. And it's with BDev Services, where we are striving to be unique. And so BDev Services is a real business. It is officially an LLC, by the way. I even have an employee ID number. I'm official. Or employer ID number, sorry. BDev Services is, and I probably should have put this on the page, but I did not, so that was my bad. So I will add it after this. This is my website at the moment. My biggest focus with BDev Services is I want to focus on the people that can't afford big box technologies to create their websites. I want to have, it might be me. My internet cuts out a lot. My focus with the business is I want the client to be a part of every step of their website creation. Because it's their website, they may not have the skills to build it, but they have the vision. Am I still cutting out? Absolutely. That is not the website. There we go. Okay. So, Stuart, you are applying for the part-time backend developer. Why do you feel you would be a fit for that position?
Python quite a bit. I actually have a little bit of work experience working with Python on the daily. Building integrations with Python to different REST API and SOAP API services. I have a couple of side projects that I've been working on with some other coding bootcamp grads, and typically I kind of gravitate towards the back end. Lately, I've been working on a project where I'm focusing on the security of our app, and making sure, and employing some best practices to make sure that our users' data is secure. And I implemented an OAuth pattern authentication, which uses a access token and a refresh token for added security. So if a malicious actor gets an access token, it's only good for an hour. So it limits, it helps limit the amount of exposure if there is a breach.
Okay, sounds good. I noticed on your GitHub, there's not a whole lot of green boxes, nor is there a README repository. Any particular reason?
On the second one, I just never had a chance to get to it.
Okay.
And in terms of the green boxes, a lot of the projects I work on are private, so they're just not visible. But I'm happy to share my GitHub, a picture of my GitHub from my terminal, so you can see there's going to be more green boxes.
As a side note, you don't know you can turn private repos on to track your green boxes, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is. So that's not part of the interview. Just figure I'd slip that in there for you.
Gotcha. Dang. All right. I can't use that. I mean, that's true, but like I can't use that in the future.
Well, no, but you can. That's the whole purpose of this. So, it looks like you have 61 repositories that are at least public.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to, it looks like 2020. So it does show that you have quite a bit of experience, or at least a couple of years. So I'm definitely impressed with that. I would definitely recommend getting that README repository created, because you can showcase things like your most popular languages used. For example, since it is, I feel like it's not against the laws, so to speak. On my README document, when it shows up, there we go. Hold on, let me refresh the screen because it's being stupid. There we go. You can see right here, my most popular language is Python. So that would definitely be something I would highly recommend you adding to your GitHub for future purposes, or just in general, because it can really showcase the languages you use, especially if, like in this case, you're applying for a full-time backend position. Seeing that Python being at the top of your most used would be beneficial for me to have seen. But I do really like your resume. I like the way you laid it out. It's very nice and neat. So I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And then your LinkedIn also looks really nice, although I would recommend a different picture personally. The background.
Okay.
That's just me though. But
okay.
Obviously, because I forgot to provide it, so this is probably a mute point, but did you get a chance to look up BDev services at all to inquire about what we do?
Okay. If I would like I'm role playing as a job interviewer, and so I didn't actually in real life,
Right.
but if this were like an actual interview, I would look at their website. I would go up and down. I would prepare questions.
Okay.
I would tell them like what I like. For me personally, and I can't speak for other people, everybody comes from different, they have different ways of doing things, but I like to look at jobs that, with companies that I actually like really like, so I would emphasize that, like, hey, what your company does, your mission statement, I really identified that because, those are some of my values too. And these are like really cool things that I'm interested in. And I would emphasize that, but I would also have like other questions, like, I'd probably ask like what type of businesses, if there's like a particular industry of clients that you service, maybe like restaurants or manufacturing or things like that. So those are probably like some of the questions I would have prepared.
Right. So after I gave you the brief description of BDev services, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think I really like that you are going after clients that they have a website, or they want a website, they have a vision, but they may not have like the spend that other bigger companies have. And I think it's like good to support small businesses. And I'm starting to feel like the beauty pageant, when they win and they're on the microphone and they have to answer a question and they don't really know how to answer the question.
No, okay.
And because especially world peace.
That was good. I like that one. Okay. Obviously, since this was our first one, I knew it was going to be a little rough. So it's like, I need to have this as part of the job posting, right? The link to the website, you think?
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay.
So what other questions would you think of, like just off the top of your head real quick, would you think of to ask that weren't part of the job posting, for example?
Yeah. So, you list Python, and you also list like a responsibility to be proficient in JavaScript, and it's backend. So, like, what frameworks are you using? Is it the same framework for every project, or do we kind of get to pick the framework? For each client. Yeah. So what in terms of Python, which web framework would we be using?
Mostly Django because it's the quickest to get up and running, is my thought process on that. However, client specific. Because some clients don't need the ORM style of Django, so why go that route if we don't have to? Same with JavaScript. We don't have to use MySQL. We don't have to use Mongo. It would be client specific, because that's my biggest concern is I want the client to be a part of it, and I want it to be as user-friendly for the client as it will be for the end user. Which is why I like Django, because I can give them admin panel instead of creating forms, and it's a lot simpler in most cases.
Gotcha. Okay. That's really cool. And that's one of the reasons why I like Django, is because you have that admin portal, and when you're creating your different data models, it's like that. As long as when you register them with the admin portal, you automatically get that web form to create a new instance of that class. So that's that's pretty cool. I like that. I like Django quite a bit.
Oh, me too. I love Django. So would you, as the interviewee, ask why I only specifically said JavaScript and Python when you're also Java qualified? For example.
I might. I was kind of 50-50. I was probably going to bring that up. Like, yeah, I like Java Spring. So, are there any instances in which you would set a client up on Java Spring?
And that would be, for me, my answer to that would be they would have to pay more for those.
Gotcha.
Because typical hosting packages do not easily allow for deployment of languages such as Java and C#. Python, React, a lot easier to get deployed with most hosting packages. If they're willing to pay for a VPS server where you have that root control access, then I would go that route.
Got it. And what type of infrastructure do you set up for your clients? Is it AWS, or is it like Azure, or what type? What do you? Does it depend on the customer, or what do you usually go with?
It'll depend on the customer. Most of the time, their dev site will be on my hosting packages, so they can get up and running and tested as is. And then if they have hosting, it'll move over to theirs. If they don't, I would recommend, depending on what type of website they want. If it's an e-commerce, I might recommend something like AWS over like MyHost, for example, or for something like that. So it would definitely be client specific as well. Gotcha.
I have also worked with Firebase, which would also kind of like Firebase is a backend as a service, so it would almost like make a backend developer position kind of moot, or reduce the responsibilities. Have you ever worked with Firebase before, or have clients that might prefer Firebase?
And I steer clear of it because I'd rather let the client have as much control as they can, where Firebase takes a lot of that control out of the picture. At least from what I've been able to utilize with it. I haven't played with it a whole lot, to be honest. But I want the client as well as my developers to have as much control over what happens, because it's really important for me that we all work together, the client and us.
Gotcha.
That and it whole takes the back end person need out of the picture, so.
Gotcha. And the position is remote, and I'm on the Pacific Coast. So are there particular working, office hours or working hours, or is it, or is it based on kind of like a 2-week sprint, and with intermediate meetings? Like, does the time zone matter, or is there anything with time zone specific?
Nothing will be time zone specific, although I will try to match up developers with the client's time zone.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So-
like person in charge of the website, creating the website would work with the developer in their time zone if possible.
Gotcha. And then would I have to interact with the client directly?
As a team lead, potentially. If you became the team lead, it would be, yes. Oh, thank you. Bud.
Gotcha.
I was gonna come and get it, but thank you.
Right.
Oh, this way.
So
Sorry.
so do you have like a Tom Sinkowski on your team?
Who, what's it, where?
Oh, Tom Sinkowski. He's a character in Office Space, and his line is, "I talk to the people so the engineers don't have to. They don't have any people skills."
So I would do most of the talking to the clients, but I would most certainly pass certain aspects or certain projects off to qualified individuals,
Gotcha.
because I don't need to be in control of all of it, but I would be the final point of contact type of thing. But we would definitely work like in sprints. It's an agile environment, specifically Scrum. Like I said, time zone won't be a problem necessarily because it is remote, so everybody makes their own hours roughly within the constraints of how many hours they're allowed to have.
Gotcha. Cool. I have no further questions. That's amazing. I love this company even more having asked these questions.
So the compensation is 35 an hour. It is for full-time. However, at the moment, we do not offer benefits. It is
Gotcha.
contract work. Is that
that's okay. I never get sick, and I don't intend to die.
nice? I love it.
So yeah, I don't need benefits. I'm fine.
That was one question I'm trying to figure out how to fully answer. Because that's one I don't know, because I think that's where I'm going with the actual business is contract work until I have enough employees where I'm required to either have benefits or I can afford to offer benefits. Because starting out, I can't afford that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never started a company of this nature before, so I have no answers for that. I have no idea. I work for a startup, and they, and somehow they're able to do that. I don't know how you get from zero to having employees and giving them benefits. I think it's good. I just don't know how that works yet.
I want to, of course. I just don't know how yet. So we're getting there. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Where is trying to see if anybody added to it. Nobody added to it. Okay. So interview over type of thing. But I'll get in touch with you type of thing. That would be my final words. But oh, dang it, I forgot what I was gonna ask now. I'm a little unprepared today, so I apologize.
It's all good.
So we said we want to have the link as the posting, which I already did. Thank you for being the guinea pig, though.
Oh, it's awesome. Was that the interview? Was that?
That was, yeah, I was keeping it nice and short to just get a couple good questions out to get people thinking, and those that were being the interviewee can get their thought process of what questions they need to ask.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, cool. And then what have you thought of doing like mock technical interviews and making people code? Because I think that would be valuable.
I have. That is
Nice.
going to be, I think, in February, the week for mock interviews is going to be the technical one.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, that's so I'm just gonna come out and say I don't like okay, so um I don't am I allowed to mention what am I allowed to mention? I don't know because I just remembered I'm being recorded, so I'm trying to think of what I'm allowed to mention. But I'm gonna keep this as generic as possible. Um I have some information in which the Glassdoor had an internship opening, and they partnered with a certain coding boot camp. And a lot of alumni from this boot camp had actually interviewed for the internship position at Glassdoor. And a lot of the alumni did well on, in terms of the technical exercises. But one of the weaknesses apparently that I heard is that they had a lot of these, alumni students had difficulty, talking through their code, explaining like their thought process, and that was kind of a big kind of disadvantage that they had.
Yeah, which is what week 1 of CodeZeroAlgos is about. I give everybody a solved algo, and I tell you to explain it as if I'm not a developer.
Gotcha. Oh, that's really good. And I'll tell you, in the technical interview that I had, or one of them, the interviewer kept, because I had like a lot of dead air, because when you're coding, you're just in your own mind and you're thinking, and it's just a lot of dead air because you're just trying to solve the problem. But the interviewer kept kind of, verbally nudging me like, hey, so what's your thought process? Hey, can you tell me what you're thinking now? And and it's like the lesson I got from that is you want to narrate what you're doing, because they can't see inside your brain.
Yep,
And
which is why I give them that solved algo in week 1, so we can Englishize it, is my word phraseology for it. Because if you can explain it to a non-developer, you know what the code is doing. And then in week 2, we're going to solve an algo and then Englishize it at the same time. Like, why did you choose in the fizz buzz one, for example, why did you put 3 and 5 first, as opposed to 3 and then 5 and then 3 and 5? What was your thought process?
Yeah, that makes sense. I can tell you, like, in another company that I'm working for right now, that we had a series of technical interviews, and of course, in this day and age, you can use you can use ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will spit out code for you, and it'll fix the problem for you. And a lot of candidates we had to disqualify because we were, it was not against the rules to use ChatGPT. But the problem we had is that when they used ChatGPT and they copied this code over and solved the problem, they couldn't subsequently explain like why it solved the problem. They couldn't, they got the code, but they didn't know what it did, and that's not good. And it'll be fine. I think, and I think it would have been fine if they copied code from ChatGPT, but they knew what it did, and at least could, and therefore know like, hey, this is a good solution. But yeah, and yeah, so I don't know if that's if those contributions are helping or helpful at all.
Absolutely helping. And that's one thing in terms of on the interview side, I would actually also ask how the interviewees thought, what their thought is. Like, for example, Stuart, how do you feel about using ChatGPT during your day-to-day life as a developer? Are you against it or for it?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that now? Because I do have an answer. I'm very
go for it.
Yeah. I'm for it. But again, the caveat is you have to understand like what it's giving you. Like you cannot it can lead to disaster if you just blindly plug in what it gives you. I have in the past, like I knew what the right answer was. So in terms of using MySQL, for example, and I generically asked ChatGPT like, hey, can you help me use this MySQL package in Python and send some information there. And it sent and it wrote code that did not protect against SQL injection. It was insecure. And if so you have to know, you have to understand like what it's giving you, but you also have to be careful and look out for for when it's giving you something that's not good or insecure, not secure.
Which is why I like to show this. I don't remember who showed it to me, but somebody did, where I can customize ChatGPT, and this is still on the free plan, where one, it calls me honeybee every time I ask it a question, which is kind of cool. But I can tell it how I want my answers. In terms of this, it always does, where is it? When describing things, I want it to use these as examples. And I purposely use those because that's probably not what I'm going to be coding, which means I have to rewrite the code. But at the same time, it allows me to easily understand what it's trying to tell me because it's something that resonates with me.
That's a good tip. That's good.
And I also try to make sure it always does it in ELI 5. So that it dumbs it down as well, but it also means that I'm going to understand what it's trying to explain to me at the same time. Because sometimes I try to use ChatGPT more for, I'm trying to create something, but I'm not quite sure how. Can you explain me how I can use it? Don't give me the code. How can I go about doing it necessarily? And that's where I think ChatGPT should be part of our day-to-day lives in terms of programming. And if you can allow it to be personalized, like in my case, I have it using magical things, baking, gardening, pets, because those are things that easily resonate with me. I can easily understand what it's trying to tell me. Like, for example, it's probably a ways away, but this was some things I came up for some algos to do, and it literally explained it to me in, not that one, it wasn't that one, was it? Nope. Oh, I was electronics. I was trying to explain a transistor to my son, and I couldn't figure out how to explain it to him. So I was like, I'm going to throw it in here. And it explained exactly what it was. It's a magical gate that opens and closes really fast. And then just went on, but I understood it. So I was then able to change the way I explained it to my son because I better understood what it meant.
That is really cool. I want to ask a question. So you mentioned ELI 5. I've never heard of that before, or I actually don't know what that is. Can you share what ELI 5 is?
Like I'm 5.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yep. And you can just type in ELI 5 and it will do it. And a lot of times for me, it used to use Legos all the time. And I got tired of it always using Legos. Although it makes sense, I needed something slightly more grown up. But it definitely, and you can take it from the ELI 5 explanation and say, okay, can you explain it to me non-ELI 5? So you can actually then have it big boy terms.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense at all.
that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, at the end of the day, I use ChatGPT all the time. Like another way, and I'm probably not using it in the best, like using it to its full potential. But like, a lot of times I have to add customer data to like an array in code, something like that, and that's kind of like a lot of busy work to put quotes around things and then put it in a bracket. So I just tell ChatGPT like, hey, here's a list of things I need you to put in an array for me, and then
I've done that
does
before.
it. Yeah. So yeah, bottom line,
This was, I think it was that I had, it did give me code, but it used very basic code. I was trying to figure out, because I was learning React Native. Couldn't figure out padding and margin for some reason. So I had to show me how I could incorporate it directly in.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I like React Native quite a bit, actually. It's fun.
I'm getting there.
Um, and but I think at the end of the day, like a smart company is going to make use of AI and give their engineers all the tools, but but they're going to hire engineers that understand how to use the tools properly. Um, I think the one at our specific company, because we deal with like proprietary API information, like the big rule is you don't actually ask ChatGPT about proprietary things.
Right.
They say they're not taking the data, but they are. I'm sure they
I'm
are.
sure they are. I'm sure they are. It's got to learn somehow.
Yeah, and of course there are what they call AI hallucinations, and so you got to be careful for those.
Yep.
Cool. For the purposes of the interview, I will add that you know I would take the time afterwards, within 24 hours, to say thank you and probably send some other questions to the interviewer. I think that's always a good move. Um, One thing I did one time and it worked is if there were questions in a technical interview that I couldn't solve, I tried to solve them at home, and if I was able to solve them at home, I'd follow up and say like, hey, just FYI, if it counts for anything, I ended up solving it at home. So
Well, that reminds me, going back towards your dead air during a technical interview thing
mhm,
or a coding challenge type of thing. I'm a big proponent of the rubber ducking in terms of like just talking your thought process out loud. I got hired at a startup company years ago because I talked my coding challenge out loud. I never solved the coding challenge.
mhm.
I failed it miserably. But because I talked my process out loud, okay, I'm going to do that. Wait, no, can't do that because it'll end up doing this. But I could do this, like obviously I didn't just say this and stuff, but I'm going to do a for loop. Oh, wait, can't do a for loop because that's not going to work here. I need an if statement, which will send me over here, that type of thing. They ended up hiring me because I could explain my thought process. Even though I never solved it, I knew why I wasn't solving it. Because there was also the time crunch too. I was nervous, but because in the time crunch and the time they allotted me, it just wasn't enough time for my thought process to fully process it. But they could hear my thought process and see it. And they're like, okay, I can see where she's going. She understands what she's doing. She's just taking her time to do it right or whatever. So talking it out loud is definitely something that could potentially work in your favor, even if you don't solve it. Because it goes to that, I know what I'm talking about thing.
Makes sense.
And that's all Code Zero is about, Jonathan, is just getting back into coding again. The algos part specifically is more geared towards the interviews and prepping and stuff like that. The projects is, well, projects, but. So I know I did see somebody else. I can't imagine who it possibly could have been. But we've got time before his starts, so I'll wait a little bit. Other questions you guys have or input you want to give in terms of things for interviews? Because the next one's not for another couple minutes or about 20 minutes. Because there's a nice guy. Unless he wants to go early. That's up to him.
I just realized I put it on Sunday.
Oh,
I
that's
was
fine. You
going
can
to
move it
put
to
it
another.
on Tuesday
Go for it. You can move it to
because
Tuesday. That's
my
fine.
resume is not quite finished.
Gotcha. I figured that was probably what you wanted to do, but I know you were working on yours, so. Did you have projects on your resume, Stuart? Oh,
I realize I gave you like an old version of the res. I didn't give you. I accidentally gave gave you a not current version of my resume. So and not to make excuses, I'm not actually an active job seeker right now. So where my resume is and my projects and my GitHub and all that, it's not up to spec because it's not a priority. But I do have a resume somewhere that's a little bit more current that actually lists like my current position, and it lists that I participated in the Coding Dojo hackathon. And I think I might have an active project somewhere. I don't know if I listed or not, but
2 suggestions for your resume though, even though that might be on the new one.
mhm.
Can't X your phone number. That should be for the interviewer only. And if they want the phone number, they should contact you. They should specifically ask you for a phone number. Because your resume can get out in other ways. You don't want that phone number out there.
Gotcha.
And I personally would have a better email address.
Okay.
Like I have Melissa Longerberger 24 at Gmail
Mhm.
as my name. Easy to remember. Or if it's associated like with your portfolio domain
Mhm.
type of thing, it's a little bit more easy to remember. That's yours is like a lot of numbers and letters. Not a lot of, but numbers and letters. Less professional looking.
Mhm.
Is where I'm going at.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It kind of goes both ways. To be honest, I know like little obscure apocrypha, but like that's actually an amateur radio license. So if you're right, if you're not familiar with that, it looks like okay, it could be like an anime character. No, nobody knows. It looks weird. But
Right.
like for people who are familiar with amateur radio, and a lot of people are in technical spheres, like they go like, oh, okay, that's an amateur radio license, and it actually does come across as like a little bit more. I don't. I realize I'm applying for places that they probably don't necessarily have any familiarity with amateur radio, but
That's why I like to stick with like my name because
mhm.
it's universal.
Yeah, that's fair. And so probably what I would do is and I do have like an iCloud email that is actually literally like Stuart.e@iCloud, but I never check it. And so probably what I would do if I was actively job seeking, I would probably A, use that one, and then B, like set up a filter to forward emails to the one that I mainly use.
Yeah. I like that your LinkedIn and your GitHub both have your first and last name, or at least bare minimum your first name. A lot of people don't do that. So that is something that coming from a potential employer, I would look for. Like my GitHub is Melissa-24, but my email address is Melissa Longerberger 24. So there's some continuity in there. I like that you put your black belt certification because that becomes a talking point. What is a black belt? What does that mean? And then you can go into explain that when I took my final exam for that course, these were the belts I could earn. Black belt meant XYZ. Even orange belt is still something worthy of putting on there, in my opinion, because it becomes a talking point.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. Like one of the things that people, at one point in time when I was, job searching, sometimes employers would ask like, oh, like you mentioned that you did this project, is it live? And a lot of times I would say no. And for the simple reason that like, bro, you know how much AWS fees cost? Like I can't, like, so like how do you navigate that? Like, do you kind of commit to like just spending the AWS fees or like hosting on a cheaper service? Or is there kind of a way you can explain that? Like I have the project, I can run it for you, but I don't deploy it because that costs money.
I have 2 schools of thought on that. So one, because I have projects that I wanted live, I have a hosting service. So I do find live. However, I've also used things like Vercel, Netlify, Heroku. At least like Vercel and Netlify are really good for front end, GitHub pages, static. as long as it's not an organization, you can use Heroku to add the back end. So there are options that are free. They're just going to be slower. Because like with Heroku, the databases go to sleep after 30 minutes of inactivity. So it's going to take like about a minute to wake that database up. But it's there. And most, I would assume, I could be wrong in this, but I would assume most hiring managers would see, oh, he's hosting his website on Heroku. There's the potential of a wake up time. Because it's a known thing with Heroku, unless you pay for it, there's going to be a wake up time.
Or you set up a cron job that pings your website every 30 minutes.
True. There is that too. But I think there's also a point that it becomes no longer hobby on Heroku if it's awake too often.
Oh, gotcha.
I think that's part of the reason why it shuts down like after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But there are hosting companies out there that aren't all that expensive. I was showing these guys that last week. I pay $84 a year. And I can host as many websites as I want. I think we saw what, 17 databases currently on that one host. And I think I've got 16, no, there's 17 databases. There's at least 20 websites for $84 a year.
Wow.
There's a little bit of delay because after a certain amount of time, or after a certain amount of websites, the bandwidth starts to cut down, but it's live. So there are options for some hosting, but not everybody can do that. So, but having it, I would put on the resume your projects, just put currently not live, but have the link to the GitHub so they can at least see the code. And then if they want to ask about it during the interview, you can already have it maybe potentially already running or just easily accessible to run.
Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, because like you said, having projects live it's going to cost after a while. So
yeah, the main exception to that, surprisingly, is if you have a basic project on Firebase, they're not always free, but they've been pretty close to free. The only downside is you can only really showcase like front end work because like the back it kind of does all the back end for you. But I would say if that's what somebody's going for, if they're like, hey, I want to be a React developer, it's very easy to have Firebase host React, and then they can see that.
But Vercel and Netlify also host React completely free.
Okay. But with a back. Okay, interesting.
And the only downside potentially is that your link has Vercel or Netlify in the address. But coming from an employer standpoint, I see it as they found a way to get their website live so I can see it now. I don't see that as a downfall that you're using something that's free. I'm seeing it as you're using your resources to enable me to see something.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Which is also why I love GitHub Pages if you can. Granted, that's only static sites, but nothing says you can't have a static HTML, JavaScript, CSS website as a project in your portfolio or on your resume, because you can make some amazing things with just those three technologies. Nothing says you can't use GitHub Pages for that.
Yeah, and it would be a good way to showcase front end skills. I've heard of employers where, yes, we're hiring for React or Vue or whatever framework, but we want to see if you can use vanilla JavaScript to do the same thing. If you understand vanilla JavaScript enough to to build that out from scratch, and that's a way to do it. So that's pretty cool. I personally have to get going now.
That's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But these are my buttons. Well, they will be. They're buttons, but they're not clickable yet. But that's all CSS. That's something I can show off because that's not something everybody can easily figure out how to do, including myself. It took me a while. ChatGPT and I had a few little talks.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Good luck, gentlemen, who are coming up next. Thank you very much. I gotta skedaddle. I gotta run. But thank you very much. Let me know if I get hired. But
You got it.
right.
Fernando, you wanted to have your resume critiqued? I think we can do that.
Hello? Yeah, sure. I don't know. My camera, my voice wasn't working for a few minutes. Yeah, but I can definitely send it in. How do you want me to send it, through the chat?
Unless you want to share your screen, otherwise, yeah.
Um,
If you can't share your screen, that's fine. I can pull it up.
sure, I can share my screen. Let me just go to my downloads. Okay. 1 second. All right, yeah, should be good now. I'm on my phone, so I'm not really sure how I can share my screen on my.
If you want to send me the link, I can bring it up. That's fine.
Oh, here it is. I can share my screen.
I actually haven't shared my screen on the phone before.
Yeah, me neither. I have to put my laptop to charge it. All right, can you guys see?
I mean, I see Zoom, but yeah. Oh, yep, there it goes.
All right. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe it's too small.
No, I can see it enough.
Okay.
I like the initial layout. It looks very clean and organized. Same thing with you. I would take out the phone number.
Okay.
Just because you don't want the resume to accidentally fall into somebody's hand, the wrong person's hand, and then they get your phone number. If the employer really wants to call you, they'll reach out for a phone number, in my opinion.
Okay. Definitely take that out.
And you have it looks like your first and last name for your LinkedIn, as well as your GitHub, which I think is very good. And your email address. I like that all that continuity. I like that. See, I really need to add a summary to my resume. I really need to do that.
Yeah, I just thought of it because I met up with my counselor and she recommended it. I didn't even know like if it was a good idea, but I was like, oh, sure, why not?
No, I've heard it's actually a really good, I've seen a lot of resumes with it and I really like them. I've seen for technical skills, which is something I'm going to do to my resume. I've seen people break it down by not stack, but what was it? Chris, you were there, weren't you? I think it was Brent's.
Yeah,
Like
it was
you had
broken
like
up like
front
front
end.
end
Yeah.
frameworks.
Oh, you do have it. Never mind, I see it now. You have languages, but he had it like a headline, like languages, and then underneath it was the languages, and then frameworks underneath that were the frameworks.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Like it's kind of like stacked under.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of people use like tables too.
I've seen that too.
Now that I've seen Stewart's, even though he said it wasn't like the up-to-date resume, I like how he has it all off to the side too. He has all his technical skills like just listed out.
I do like that too. Or I did like that too. Is that just one project?
Yeah, that's just currently just the project I had worked on when I was in Coding Dojo. I'm currently trying to learn more about like CSS and JavaScript, because I just felt like when I was there for the part-time, I didn't like immense enough in it. So I'm still like working on other stuff.
So I would definitely get at least one more project and then cut back on your bullet points.
Gotcha.
And I only say cut back on the bullet points in terms of let the project speak for itself. If possible. If possible. Sometimes it's not possible.
Okay, so what would you suggest? Like how many bullet points? Maybe like 2 or 3, and then just let everything else just fly.
You have to remember that your resume is going to be the first impression they have of you. So when you have that one project there with all those bullet points, they're going to be like, that's too much to read. And just skip right over it. Because especially if they've got like 100 resumes, they're just going to look at them and be like, he has one project. Yes, he has a lot of bullet points, but he has one project. That's too much to read about the project, type of thing is where I'm coming, is where my thought process is.
Gotcha.
Now, in terms of your professional experience, you also have one thing.
Yeah.
So professional experience, that's jobs, correct? Or is that just within
that's
the world?
Yeah, that's like currently like a little club I'm currently in my college as well.
Okay.
So like this is like what we're mainly focused on doing for professional experience.
Oh, I see that now. I see the club. Yep, got it. So there's no work history on here then.
Yeah, I put like my personal, I just put like my relevant, sorry about the background noise. I just put my relevant work experience that I thought would be good to this type of resume. I do have other work experience, but I don't know if I want to put like retail sales associate on here.
Well, first question is, do you have any work experience in the developer world?
As of now, no.
Okay. In that case, retail experience, you can word it just right that it can apply to the developer world. I work part-time at Family Dollar. Has nothing to do with developing at all. However, I'm an assistant manager, so I have managerial skills that can apply or translate over to the developer world. So there are certain skills that could translate over. You just have to know how to word them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Having no job experience or job history on there is going to look bad. Unless you're like 18, then it makes sense.
Okay. So
that coming from an employer standpoint anyways, it would look bad unless you're 18, because a lot of people, sometimes teenagers, they just focus on school. But your high school diploma was back in 2015.
Yeah.
So you're definitely over 18, but there's no job experience at all on there. Because there's the gaps in the time frame. So I would put, even if it's retail, pick out the skills within the retail that can translate over. Because maybe, like, for example, one of the jobs that I had on the mock interview was project management. There are skills within retail that could easily translate over into project management. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Recently I got hired for another job. I don't know if I want to put that as my like most recent work experience. That would be a good idea.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Obviously,
I mean, I could, but like I literally just start like in a week or two as a tutor for like programming. So
100% that needs to go on there.
yeah, I just got to fill out the paperwork, and I start out as a tutor like in a week for like introductory programming. But
100% that needs to go on there, especially on a technical resume, because if you're tutoring, that goes to knowledge in explaining things. That's huge. I would hire somebody that's a tutor in programming before someone who has a lot of projects. Because as a tutor, you're used to explaining things to others in different ways, which means you'll be able to help the team better than just having a bunch of projects. Because I don't know for sure if your projects are group or solo. But as a tutor, you're automatically group, so to speak. Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes sense. So I guess I can like maybe like after working a week or two, I could probably like put that in, because right now I don't have any experience with tutoring, so I would just like want to get a little bit of experience before updating like my current jobs, if that's okay.
Don't forget you put your start date or start month and year, so they'll know that you just started. So they'll know that your experience may be lacking. But having it on there also means that you're happy that you're there, or it's something that you're doing, type of thing. I mean, you could obviously wait. That's just my thought process. Because my thought process is I'm going to put it on there right away.
For sure. Yeah, that sounds like a better plan, to be honest. Just update it and do that.
Other than that, like I said, it looks nice and clean. It definitely looks good. There's not a whole lot of colors. Pretty sure it doesn't smell like vanilla. I mean, it might. You never know. Sorry. I was talking to an interviewer one time, and he said he received a resume and it smelled like vanilla or something like that. And he's like, that resume went straight to the circular bin. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have kept that one either. I was like, that just meant they were trying too hard.
Any other critiques?
Chris or Jonathan have anything? I know Jonathan, you may not be able to talk, but Chris, you have anything?
I can't think of anything. Resumes are tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to figure out how to present mine.
I need to redo mine.
I mean, if you have any projects that you work on with any of the students too, you can definitely add those to your project area.
Yeah, the one project I have uploaded, I did collab with another student.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one we had like used to graduate.
Oh,
I think
do you
he's
have
talking
any
about the tutoring one.
certifications?
Oh, the tutoring one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Not like, yeah, no.
Do you have any certificates other than Coding Dojo?
At the moment, no. I was doing other certificates before I went back to college. Right now, the only other project we're doing is trying to do like this huge project in New York City for like other college students to be able to use like Blackboard or the other college services more efficiently.
I mean, even if it's not finished, you could throw it on there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's what everyone keeps telling me about my unfinished projects.
Besides that, I have a few other projects like with HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript that I haven't currently uploaded to my GitHub. But I mean, yeah, I can throw it on here as well.
Well, put it on GitHub first. Otherwise, Melissa will be mad. No, I'm joking.
All right. I mean, if that's all for the critiquing, thanks guys. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. So for example, this one is, and like I said, mine needs to be updated big time. That's not my resume. Where'd I go? There it is. Nope, that's not it. I just had it. I lost it. Oh, there it is. That one's mine. I still need to fix this. This has changed, but I also only have 2 projects on mine. I have to change the website link to some of them, but both of these projects are still a work in progress. And they will forever be a work in progress. Well, the top one will be. So that's one that within Code Zero we did just in December, that it's just a bunch of visual aids to help people learn different aspects of languages, that it should be a work in progress forever and ever. But as the languages change, as ways to describe things change, it's going to grow. So having projects that aren't done is definitely acceptable. Oh, I can't put present for, I only have a couple more days. Then I have to change that one.
You don't have to change it yet.
I can't change it yet. I can't. I don't want to. I will, but I don't want to. I also have gaps in mine that I have to explain. Mine's also 2 pages because I couldn't get it all into one. But oh my gosh, I have a phone number in mine too. Holy crap. This must not be the updated one then. It's gotta be, because I took my phone number off of there. It must not be the most updated one. It does say copy of. Where's my name? M. Oh, example of. There it is. Is that the right one? That's the better one. Only because it has doesn't have the phone number on it, but I still need to fix, I don't like my skills. I really did like the way Stuart had his skills.
I just realized he doesn't have any projects on that one though.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. But he said he has one that's actually better.
That looks very visually appealing though.
It does. I like how visually appealing his is, not just with the icons, but like the name. Like this is big and it stands out. Where mine, where'd it go? I lost it again. Gosh darn it. There it is. My name is up there, but I don't even have that I'm a full stack web developer. And see, I even keep my Navy one on there on purpose, because even though it has nothing to do with programming, I keep it on there because seeing the military typically gives a certain impression of people. And I think I'm going to take the interests off. I don't think it needs to be there. But yeah, mine's still a work in progress too. Don't worry. You're not alone, Chris.
Resume, there's so much like weight that they carry for only being used like 1% of your actual career.
I know. I do have a question though. I've been working on an idea for my portfolio because I'm updating mine. Apparently it's not here. I put it in the Slack, but I think I put it in Slack. Did I? Oh yeah, I did. Not the colors, just ignore the color, but I was thinking of starting my portfolio like this. I need to change the wait time on some of it, but. And then like the rest of the portfolio loads.
I like the scrolling letters, like the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm. But
when it is all like out now,
mhm.
maybe placement.
Maybe what?
Picture, maybe the placement of the picture
Mm-hmm.
can go like to the left of your name and description.
Okay. Should I leave my image in the scrolling thing?
No.
Okay. I was thinking of taking it out because I was like, it kind of, there's too much wait time.
Yeah, the wait time, I was like, okay.
I mean, I can change the timeout for it. I just haven't done that yet.
You can do like a 2-line one too, so it does 2 lines at the same time. Does
Yeah,
your name and full stack developer, or it does one and then the next one.
that's true. It's a work in progress.
Like it kind of looks like my README in my GitHub.
What does?
Or like the little spell out the letters thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think every developer should have that. I don't know why. I've just seen it so many places and it's cool.
I think that's why I thought of it because I like the way it's not basic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just this. It's not just static. It adds something else to it.
So like a layer of dimension.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm gonna keep. I think I'm definitely gonna keep that part of it because I do like that part of it. I think I do like your idea of where is it up here?
It looks like it winds up in a different spot than where it started too.
I purposely have the opening part dead center of the screen.
Yeah, which is cool
So
stuff.
that regardless of the size of the screen, like even if it's this small, of course it will. It's dead center regardless. Yeah, there's way too much wait time in there.
So maybe it goes to be a different like banner at the top instead of those same words.
You talking
Like
about
you know
this
how you
part?
have yeah, so it like spells out my name is Melissa Longenberger, hello, or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then I am a full stack developer and educator. So maybe instead of this part, you do like your like the top of the beehive services. Where is it? You know how you
But
have
like
like
not
that top
repeat
banner?
myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you mean. Okay, I can do that. I mean, obviously, this is not the final version. The colors are definitely not it. I just couldn't stand the white anymore. And it's just CodePen. I'm just playing with it at the moment, but
Yeah, no, that's the fun part.
I can't wait until February to see what the CodePen challenge is. But I got my Hive buttons. I got these. I got
I
this.
do like those.
I mean, they're buttons now. They're just nothing good happens to them. But I'm gonna have them all disabled.
See, that's the part I was thinking about, like, because that's gonna be site structure, right? And like architecture stuff.
Mhm.
Like how is it gonna be, like I remember when I was in Coding Dojo, I had access to such and such, but not these things.
Mhm.
So what determines, like what do you need to add to determine someone's ability to click on one of those buttons.
I'm gonna have them disabled until they're done with that stack. And then the disabled, like right now, internship won't do anything. It's a physically disabled button and it looks different. So I'm gonna have it literally do, like right now, these don't do anything either, but I think that's why I'm gonna keep it. Possibly do the disabled part. And then once they finish the stack, they can click this or the next one that they're, or the one they're in, or so on and so forth.
Okay, so it's gonna like track each user, kinda.
Mm-hmm. But also once they've finished the stack, it's just unlocked. And that's something that I'm also going to do different, I think, is I don't think they're going to lose access. Like ever. Because I hate that.
Yeah.
I still
Like,
have
there's no point
access.
me going back to a coding dojo website anymore. Like, it's
Yeah,
been so
like
long.
I still have access to the boot camp that I went to. I still have access to the content there. And that's one thing I didn't like, was that the access gets lost after 6 months. Unless you pay for it. I think you should have root access to what you had while you were there. Always. Mainly because if you learned it, you should be able to reference it.
Yeah, I got an alumni pass and I started printing off everything. I was kind of like, I know it's gonna be gone real soon, so I'm just gonna print everything off. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah, I think I still have.
I mean, now I've found other resources I can use, which is good.
Is it school? Maybe. Oh, I just saw the link to it. There. It's in this one. Oh, it was learn. That was close. I think I can still sign in anyways. Looks like it. I mean, that's all I have access to, but I still go back to, oh wait, no, that's right.
Surprise,
No,
surprise.
because that's the codex. That's the new one they went to. I have to go to the other one. It was the legacy one. Course material legacy. This one is the one. And here I can still go into this one and I have everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I still go back to it every once in a while whenever I'm playing with React, because I'm like, wait a minute, how did we do that again? Because I learned login registration.
Yeah,
Here.
because when I was going through it, I did not focus on making cheat sheets like I would do if I were to go through a boot camp again. Like step by step, how I do everything.
Like I think
Which is kind of what I was thinking for the Tech Bytes thing. Like, because that's essentially what the learning platform was. Like it had information, but it was like just step by step too of how to get things working.
oh, in terms of the curriculum to build for that, I was thinking that too, of I want how to, but yet step by steps as well.
And I've seen you've already got a bunch of that on the HackMD.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, because I take notes of everything.
I wish my brain did that. Like, I have to be in that mindset.
That's nothing.
Like,
look at what I did the other day. These are my topics.
that is beautiful.
I'm actually going to break down, like, even Python. I'm breaking it down into 2 sections, the basics and front end, and then back end, and then connecting the 2 together. And there's a project in between there. Because this is how I'm going to lay out each of the projects. There's going to be a junior person, a mid person, and a senior person.
Oh, so a project is multiple people involved?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's different.
That's what
That's
we did.
purposeful.
That's what we did through when I was going to here. And I really liked it because when I was in web fundamentals, I saw what the next stack was. I saw React. I was like, oh, I get to do that next? Cool. And then when I was this person, I got to help this person, but yet still see what was coming down the pipeline. But then when I was this person, I was helping this one and this one. So it gave that sense of accomplishment that, hey, I can help these people now. So there was that whole, the whole seniority part of it, but it was also, but they're dependent, especially because we had back end as separate, they depended on me to get some of their stuff working.
Oh yeah, because nothing makes me feel more macho than when I can tell someone how to do something that I didn't used to know how to do, but now I do.
But I
Yeah,
think,
that's awesome.
I think that's important. So there's going to be at least 4 projects. And then I think these are going to be part of the internship. Like that's going to be part of the internship as well as working on client projects. Because I think that could be fun, having like a React front and a Python back, or a Python front with a React back.
How would you do a Python front and React back? Does React have a back?
Express, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, so React itself is actually front end, but it's a very similar setup for the back end. It's just not create React app. It's just Express, but it still uses NPM. It's still turned on the same way. It's just the back end. Like the back end for React, like if you use Express, there is literally no front end to it. It's literally just API calls.
That'd be cool to see.
So you could use Flask for the Python front, where you're just pulling up the HTML pages with the Flask server, but getting the data from API calls that are coming from an Express server. So I figured these could be built into, like I said, the internship as well as working on client projects. That way you're still building your own projects, or you're still working on projects, but you're also getting client project work.
Yeah, that'd be a good internship level. I like how those projects are laid out, rather like team rather than individual.
Yep, and that's going to be how you pass each stack. Is your participation level in like the first, in this project, if you're doing like for web fundamentals, your participation in your project is whether you get to advance to the next stack or not. Because I don't like the belt exams. I do, but I don't. I think they're important, but at the same time, I think group projects is more important. Because in the real world, you're not going to be by yourself. You're going to have open world, so to speak. So I think that needs to be part of being able to pass each stack is, can you rely on others? Can you help others? Can you utilize others to get through your stuff? But in the end, it's still your work.
Yeah, I find asking for help very difficult, so that would be a good thing for project building.
I just have to figure out how to time it. Like for the Python, how long should that be? For the React, full stack React, how should that be? How long should it be? Like my first thought was, oh yeah, because this is my layout. Oh, I have 5 projects. My bad. I thought I had 4. This was a thought, having a capstone before the internship. I haven't decided on that one yet.
So Dojo was GitHub and Web Fundamentals was like a month long, right?
If you were part-time. I think full-time Web Fund was 2 weeks.
And that's just going over
But we didn't
that Git
really,
exists and HTML and CSS exist.
pretty much. But for this one, GitHub is gonna be part of the onboarding. Every assignment is turned in through GitHub, period. Because it instantly gives them green squares. Gets that practice in, and then I was thinking a month and then 2 months for, or a month for each section. And then a week or so for the projects.
Yeah, that's a good start because I remember GitHub being really daunting for some reason when I was trying to learn HTML and CSS at the same time, and
That's why I'm gonna
it's
do it first
not
before
that
any
big of a
coding
deal.
happens.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how
That's
long that needs to be. I feel like a week is too long, but yet not too long at the same time.
I mean, maybe setting up a README. However long it takes to do that, like,
Oh, like the profile readme thing?
mhm.
It's a good idea.
I mean, because that shows you how to create the repository for the README and all that stuff.
Actually, that would
Mm.
be like, that would be a good quote unquote project for that section. Like, that's what they have to do. They have to create it, clone it down, work on it, push it back up. That gets like all of that in there. It's a good idea.
Because I didn't, I didn't do a README until like this past year, and it's crazy now thinking that I didn't have one for so long.
And I'm definitely gonna expand a little bit on some of these and rearrange them. But not at the same time. I think this is a good process for JavaScript, like fundamentals, then get some algos, and then connect it to the HTML. But I think this also needs to be covered for CSS, the responsiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I have to admit, I'm really excited.
I'm excited too. This is a cool little project.
I know. I can't believe that like you and Brent specifically said that you want to help me work on it. I'm so excited about it.
Definitely. And you know, I am so excited about the web fundamentals and the GitHub part because I feel like I can contribute a little bit there.
But you think the projects are good? You don't think that's too many projects?
Oh, you can't have enough projects.
Okay, good. I feel
Honestly,
the same way.
the more projects, the better. It might seem daunting, like when I first started the boot camp, you know, the projects and the capstones, I was real nervous about getting them perfect, but looking back, it's not about, you know, getting them perfect. It's about learning the tools to get those things done.
But if every project you're only you're only working on your specific part of it in terms of what you just learned, and you have others with you, do you think that would have made it easier?
It's hard to say. I am
You do what,
I'm very
Jonathan? As in you want to help with the website, or you like the projects? Or both? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chris. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm not sure how I would have reacted to doing team stuff. Like there was people that because I was on site before COVID hit. Um and like there was people that, you know, I was constantly asking for help because they were there, like they started their um boot camp before me. So they knew the answers to the questions that I had. So I was still asking them even though they weren't part of the project.
Okay. So that sounds like this would have benefited you as well.
Yeah. And maybe you could have one that does like branches, so it does like GitHub stuff for a project.
Oh, that's already part of this.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, that was already going to be part of the projects. Was you had to have your own branch for your section.
Because like when I was going through the boot camp, I knew that branches existed, but I never had to use them. That would be a good spot to figure out how merging happens, because we all know how I did with merging.
And I showed you. Did I show you this at all?
Yeah, I saw that in the Slack.
Did? Okay. This, I'm excited. Like I finally put that picture in there, and then why is it not zooming in for me? Because it's being retarded. No, this one. So like that's gonna be like codingdojo.com version. Like not version, but like that's just gonna be about the school, and then this will be where they actually log in.
Like the student dashboard thing. Or no, no,
Mhm.
no.
I'm still not sure about the brown, but the green, I'm not happy with the green. I don't like it. But I don't want it blue. I just don't know if I like the brown. Got any other color suggestions though?
I mean, I definitely like the brown for like a honey aspect, right?
Mm. Okay.
I mean, maybe if we just UI'd it a little bit and did some linear gradient.
I thought about that, but there's already the gradients here, and there's already like colors in this. I didn't want too much color going on.
There was someone we were looking at their portfolio the other day. If you do like an overlay,
Mm-hmm.
with like just a black overlay that's got some transparency, then it'll bring all those colors together regardless of what colors you have in it.
True. Oh, gross. I don't know. I guess the brown's not bad. It definitely makes this pop a little bit better. But the green's got to go. Speaking of, let me fix that now before it drives me nuts, because I really don't like the green. I just didn't want it blue. And my first thought was green because, like, outside. Stop. Actually, it's really not that bad with the brown, now that I see it like that. I'm so glad the other Chris recommended this. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, maybe that can be the page where those bees are like floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't you showing me on CodePen you had some bees?
I did. Yep. I think they're on the other code pen. Because apparently I have more than one.
Why do you have more than one CodePen?
Because it depends on which one I'm signed in as. Am I signed in as my dojo ego or my other ego? So where's the other one? Where's my... Apparently it's the other person following. Wait, no, that's who I'm logged in now as. This one, that's what I want to look at. Follow this one. And then pens. All pens. I think this is the one where I have it. Yeah. I just have to figure out placement of them. I did figure out one thing though, but I was told to take it out, so I did. Someone didn't like it. I do have Hold on, I have to make it smaller so it works. With the door. But unfortunately, it's only on that size. Like, it gets moved.
Oh, it doesn't stay in it.
But I couldn't figure out how to do it without making it layered. But I was also told, someone else mentioned that it looks a little too busy with the door on there. But it looks more hive-like to me with the door on there. So, that's why it's just commented out code and not gone code.
Let me see. I've been playing with a whole bunch of CSS animations. It's doable.
It is. I just have to do it. Is the new challenge up yet? No. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long to figure out what February's is. All right, I need to get going because I need more food.
Alright, sounds good.
But do you guys have any questions before I head out?
Is there anything you want me to work on?
I will send you the links.
Alright.
You're excited.
I don't think I have any questions for now. Just I guess we should prepare for that mock interview, I guess.
I'm gonna be doing them again on Tuesday.
Okay, great. See you guys then. Take
All
care,
right.
everyone.
Yeah.
All right,
Bye.
sounds good. Did you have any
Thank
questions?
you, Melissa.
Oh, no problem.
It was really great. I was in and out. I just was listening the whole time. I wasn't really looking at what you were sharing, but it looks very promising.
All right. I will talk to you later then.
Okay, bye.